Hello， 我是阿滴，欢迎收看今天的 Wassup 台湾。这个系列呢是要带外国人体验台湾文化嘛。我们做过了槟榔摊、垃圾车、牛肉面。那今天呢，我们要来做一个 reverse version， 我们要来访问一个在台湾已经落地生根的外国人，也就是我后面这一个在信义区的英式餐厅。这些餐厅主人 Amy 呢，她在12年前嫁来台湾，目前已经完全融入这个文化了。所以待会呢，我们就一起来尝试看看英式的料理，以及聊一聊台湾跟英国的文化差异。好，打扰了。哦，这边真的有很多英式的元素啊，这边是有一个电话亭啊。Hi, Amy.
Hey,
Hi,
nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Thank you for coming today.
Yeah, we have a lot prepped for today. I'm here to talk about cultural differences between England and Taiwan.
Right, I'm looking forward to it.
How long have you been running this restaurant?
So this one's been here for 2 years, and the one in Dancho I've had for like 9 years now, I think. So it's been quite a while, yeah.
I have to say, you know, the logo really resembles you.
Really?
Yeah,
I think
it
they
does.
did a good job, right?
Yeah, it does a
Thank
good
you.
job. Why do you call yourself a grandma though? Is there a story behind
There
it?
is actually, because when we started on a night market I'd say about 10 years ago now in Gongguan, and the night market we just sell milkshake, and because it was milkshake, right? Milkshake, yeah. And then we kind of added more and more things, and people got to know it was like Ingguan and Ingguan Night.
What do we have planned for today?
So what we're going to do is I'm going to take you into the kitchen in a minute, and we're going to actually make a Scotch egg from scratch. So are you ready? Are you up for that? Making some food?
Yes.
Wonderful. So after that, I thought we could sit down, probably relax a bit, eat our Scotch egg, and I'll prepare afternoon tea for you as well, and some tea. We could just relax and just chat a bit. If that's all right with you, we could do that.
Yes, fascinating.
Wonderful.
All right, let's get started. Okay, so here we are in the kitchen. Let's get our gloves on.
Yep, so let's get ready. Have you tried a Scotch egg before?
I've seen it on the internet.
Right.
Basically fried egg with a very thick crust.
That's right. So what we've got is like the egg in the middle, we've got like the meat on the outside, and the meat inside's got apples and lots of herbs and things like that. What would you say is your favourite food in the whole world if you could choose one dish?
Favorite food? The steak.
Oh yeah.
Maybe the steak, yeah.
Keep it simple and nice,
Yeah,
right? It's a
simple
good piece of meat, right? Yeah.
And it's a good source of protein.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep this like chunks a little bit bigger because when it cooks, it's going to become quite small. So this is pork mince or ground pork, right? Yeah, it's pork. There's 2 ways of doing it. We could use a machine to do it, but that's boring, right? So we're going to use our hands to do it. So it's really homemade, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to put the apples in there, half an onion as well. That's all been chopped up. Just some salt and pepper, and we have some, this is parsley, so you can use fresh or you can use dried. A little bit of nutmeg as well.
Nutmeg?
Nutmeg just gives it an extra like flavour at the end. And then we're going to have a little bit of mustard, so that's just going to tenderise the meat and just start to mash it with your hands. So we're going to make sure that it all like mixes together. And then we're going to, this takes a little bit of time, so we're going to have to keep smashing it into the bowl like we would a beef burger.
Like this?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, great. The harder you smash it, the better it's going to taste.
So when you have a bad day, this is the dish that you'll cook?
Oh, it's great, right? Yeah. All the anger comes out in the egg. Yeah, that's about ready. Wonderful. So what we're going to do now is we're going to separate into one. So I'll do one and you can do one as well. So we're going to like put it in half. I'm going to take off them and place it like a hole into there. And that hole is going to be the place where we put the top of the egg. So it's kind of like that. Yeah. And then what we're going to do is we're going to kind of work the pork around it really slowly, so we don't want any like gaps, like a gap or like that. Like I've got an egg poking out there, so just check. You can just make sure it's all covered and make sure the egg kind of gets into the middle, so we can just like play with it a bit until it gets into the middle. So what we're going to do first is we're going to like coat it in flours, and then we're going to pop that into the egg wash. Make sure we coat it all nicely. Breadcrumbs. It's going to be coated with breadcrumbs. Wonderful. Great. So we'll pop it there. Done. Good job. So what we're going to do is just pop it in there. And we're gonna have to like move it around so it doesn't stick to the bottom and become like a weird shape. Okay, so that's about there. So we've got it's like nice and golden brown on the outside. So we're gonna pop it into the oven for 20 minutes, and when it's like cut, it's gonna be really juicy. Okay, it's looking good. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put that in the oven for 20 minutes, and then after 20 minutes we can try these Scotch eggs. Okay. Wonderful. Right, perfect.
们在跟 Amy 正式对谈之前呢，我们进入一个小小的宣传时间。你家里有没有小朋友是很偏食，不太喜欢吃饭，总是吃个2-3口就放弃了呢？盲狗狗素养教材第2季认识食物绘本，这是要帮助家长们拉近孩子们与食物的距离。这是一套带着小朋友认识食物、亲近食物、尊重食物的绘本，由曾荣获多项国内外设计大奖的台湾团队亲自操刀，用我们日常最熟悉的食材如豆浆、木瓜牛奶、爱玉等来去打造美食的趣味故事。内容不但请来幼教顾问兼修导读，还获得饮食旅游作家韩良义老师的大力肯定。现在这个绘本已经进入了募资的阶段，早鸟只要59折起，团购更是有54折的优惠。在募资期间呢，也会开放整本绘本试读的活动，担心踩雷的可以看看之后再决定，还没有小孩的也可以推荐给你有小孩的朋友。现在就点击下方资讯栏立刻试阅全新的盲狗狗素养教材第2季认识食物绘本吧。Alright, here we are. We have something extra here.
Right, so this is our afternoon tea. So I've used like more of a traditional British style. So we have the 3 tiers. So
It's actually served like this in England?
yes, so we have like this in
3
England.
tiers?
Yeah, so we have the 3 tiers. So that's the traditional way to like eat afternoon tea.
And here we have a Scotch egg.
That's right.
That
Yes,
we
this
just
is what
cooked.
you've just done. Yes, I think you've done a pretty good job.
This is a very good presentation.
Thank you.
Is it actually served like this here?
So yeah, this is how we serve it here. So we have it with, this is a popular dish in England. This is called Branston Pickle. So the British people watching will know this. It's a really traditional like pickle we have. We have mustard and then some balsamic vinegar here as well.
Alright, so let's go ahead and try our dishes.
Wonderful. There we go. I'll get you some pickle as well.
Okay.
So you can eat it together with the pickle.
Let's see. Oh. It's burger.
Yeah, right? It's similar to the burger kind of meat, right? Yeah,
burger.
definitely.
It has a crispy crust.
Right?
I get why you bake it.
Yeah,
It's juicier
right.
on the inside. This tastes much healthier than I expected.
When you hear like fried egg,
Yeah,
you
fried.
think,
And this is not greasy at all.
Right.
Yeah, it's not oily. I think it's because of how you processed it, just deep frying it for a little bit just to
Right.
get the crust and then bake it so that it's cooked. Let's go ahead and try these. But in the meanwhile, I have prepared some questions for you.
wonderful. Yeah, go ahead.
We just
Looking
talked
forward to
about stereotypes
Yeah.
for British.
Yeah.
And these are a couple of things that came to my mind. So the first question is, British food has a bad rap.
It does.
And most Taiwanese people that I know, especially students in the UK, they use 美食沙漠, like a desert, for good food.
Right, you just can't find it anywhere.
Yeah, what do you have to say to that?
I can understand why it's got that kind of reputation. The really good British food is actually at home. We cook it ourselves. We rarely go out to eat. One, because it's expensive. Well, me and my husband was the same. He's Taiwanese. He came to England. You know, the food outside is maybe all fish and chips. It's all just baked potatoes.
Yeah.
You know, and then you go to the supermarkets. It's not that special. So I totally understand. Like people going there to study, if they don't cook at home the traditional British dishes, or they don't live with a British person. My thing is, my advice also is go to find a British person's house and get them cooked for you. That's where the good food is in the UK. Best way, like for afternoon teas for a reasonable price and all this kind of food is like little alleyways and like little small cities and things like that. In my opinion, they're the good places.
Like hidden gems.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just off the beaten track. You know, you'll stumble across them on a small alleyway or something. They're the good places.
Because from what I've heard from friends that are studying in the UK right
Yeah.
now, they have fish and chips all day. That's the only food they find affordable and delicious.
Yes, definitely.
And they do get tired of it quickly.
If you could cook at home, that's where the good stuff is. I think. Yeah.
What are some of the dishes that you do serve here you recommend, and it's really British?
So we do baked potatoes actually, which
Baked
is just
potatoes?
like one piece of baked potato with the English cheese on top, fish and chips. We do that
Fish and
with a
chips.
beer batter. The afternoon tea, and our scones are one of our best sellers because we do really traditional British scone with lots of butter inside. We also have something called cottage pie. I don't know if you've tried a cottage pie, which is like beef mince with lots of herbs and onion. We fry it and then we put mashed potato on the top, cheese, and we bake it. So all the cheese is like all like
melting.
It's so good.
Next stereotype. People think that the English accent is the superior accent. It's the better accent. People like it more. It's more appealing. What do you think of that?
Here as well, a lot of people will say to me, "Oh, can you speak English? I want to hear you." It sounds like Harry Potter, I think, as well. people say, "Oh, you sound like Hermione Granger," you know.
yeah. Hermione Granger.
Exactly. Yeah. And the funny thing, maybe you know, like I'm sure you've spoken to other British people before. There's only a small few people that actually speak like that in the UK.
Yeah, it's called perceived pronunciation or
the colloquial, right? Yeah, the Queen's English, right?
Yeah, it's the most standard and international version of English, but
That's
actually in Wales or in other parts of England, it's a completely different accent, and it's hard to understand.
Right? Yeah. I even find personally going up north, I have to really listen like to what they're saying. You know, it's just totally different. I think Alan as well. He's more north, like Wales, isn't he? Right? Yeah.
Another one would be the British love their tea. And they only have tea.
That's true.
That is true?
That is true. If you come to a British person's house, you're not going to get, well, you might get a coffee, but don't be expecting like, you know, you're going to get like other drinks. They'll be like, how many sugars do you want? That's the only question you get. Do you want sugar or milk? You don't get, oh, do you want tea? Do you want coffee? No. You don't drink tea. They're kind of like, what? I'm sorry, what? Everyone's got their favourite brand as well. People are quite picky about it as well. Like if you go to someone's house and they've got kind of a different brand, they're kind of like, oh, you know, sometimes people.
So they silently judge people?
Yeah, they're like, oh, they have PG tea. They don't like that. I like Tetley tea. They're like, they really are. And different parts of the country will have their kind of own brand as well.
What would an average British think of Twinings? All right, enough said.
It's okay.
Enough said.
It's okay. If you run out of other teas, that's your tea. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, oh my God, I've got no tea. We'll just get Twinings from the 7-Eleven. That's fine.
Oh, it's pronounced Twinings?
Yeah, you can say Twinings or Twinings. You know, yeah, both of them are fine.
I've experienced that silent judgment firsthand. right here for me. What about healthcare in the UK? Is it really, you know, hard to get?
That's got good things and bad things. Because it's free, people use it a lot. And if you've probably got a problem or something like that, you might end up having to wait a long time to see a doctor. I kind of really like the Taiwanese health system because we don't pay all that much, not like maybe in the States or other countries. I've heard it's quite expensive. And also you get immediate care as well. So
yes, immediate care, yeah.
I love it. You walk in and I was really shocked when I got a problem and they were like, oh, you can see a doctor today. I'm like, what? I don't have to wait 3 weeks. It is great, you know.
I've heard really ridiculous stories from, you know, my friends in the UK where they maybe had an accident, they had to go to the emergency room and they had to wait for like an entire night before they're addressed. She might have scraped her knees and she was bleeding. And by the time the doctor got to her, everything was already dried up. I can actually go now. If there's one thing that foreigners marvel at in Taiwan, I think it would be our healthcare system.
Yeah, it is wonderful. I'd rather do that, pay a little bit every month and have it free, you know, and then not be able to get you care when you need it. I mean, I've heard of people having cancer, you know, and then you can see doctors in like 4 or 5 months, and that is critical, you know. You need to see a doctor straight away, right? Yeah, it's like...
You wouldn't need it anymore in 4 or 5 months.
Exactly!
It's not like too extreme. Like for America, it's immediate care, but it's extortion. You have to pay so much.
I've heard that,
and in England, it's free, but you have to wait for so long.
Definitely.
Well, Taiwan is kind of like in the middle where it's...
I think it's perfect, you know, you don't pay too much and also you get immediate care. So for me, it's a really great point about Taiwan.
Okay, the final question would be about the English royalty. People in Taiwan would think that all British people adores the royalty there.
Yeah.
Is that true?
It's 50-50. I mean, I've heard some people, I guess like my grandfather's age, they just adore them. You know, they're kind of like, they love them. Everyone's house has got like a picture of the Queen. A lot of people in the younger generation that want them to be gone. And that's because they think that they take a lot of like money from the UK and things like that. You know, I don't know how true that is. It's just what I see in the newspapers and stuff. So for me, actually, I quite like having the royal family. I think they do a lot behind the scenes for charities. And they're always so busy. They're always doing charity work and they're going around helping people, visiting sick children and things. So for me, they're really nice, and I guess it's part of our culture as well.
It is a long heritage, right? They're the actual royal families from before.
Right.
It's hard for us to imagine life with a government that's 2 systems, with the royal family and democratically elected leaders.
Right.
I think in Japan it's also divided because in Japan there's also a royal family.
Right,
and
the
people are also divided 50-50 where some people think they should be abolished, but others would like to cherish that piece of history.
Oh, so it's the same with all in Japan, right? Yeah, there's like a split, like, it's interesting to know.
All right, for this final bit, we just talked about like 5 stereotypes that we have for British.
Yeah.
Can you think of any stereotypes that you guys might have towards us?
I can, yeah. I think one was everything was made in Taiwan. Like when I was a kid, there was a lot of kitchen appliances and stuff in my house that was all made in Taiwan. So I just assumed when I came here, Taiwan was just factories, and factories, you know. And I think a lot of my friends have also said that as well. Like we just used to seeing in stores made in Taiwan. So when I came here, I was like, wow, this place is just so beautiful. It's full of mountains, and of course there's factories, right? But everywhere's got factories, right? And so it was totally different. I expected the pollution to be really, really bad, you know, like all smoggy and bad, and no.
So you said when you were a kid.
Yeah.
At that age, you already know the difference between Taiwan and China?
I didn't, you know, I never thought about it. I remember seeing the earthquake, wasn't it? The 1999, right? And that was on the news. Obviously, it was in England as well. And I remember saying to my mum, "Where's Taiwan?" And she was like, "I think it's near China somewhere." You know, like British people as well. We're still not quite sure. I don't know why, because Taiwan is such a gem of Asia. I think it's so beautiful, but I've still got friends thinking that I live in Thailand. And I'm like, no, and like all these Thai massages, and I'm like, no, it's Taiwan.
If there are 10 British people,
Yeah.
how many do you think would know where Taiwan is and what it represents? Or
I would say maybe 3.
Oh, just
3 or
3?
4, because
Wow,
obviously,
okay.
you know, when I see people go back home and say, so where do you live? I live in Taiwan. A lot of people are like, I'm not really sure. We know it's in Asia. I hope Taiwan can like advertise itself more and more abroad, you know, so more and more people know about it, and they come here to this beautiful place, because it was a shock to me when I arrived.
Internationally, we are at this kind of like awkward stage where we can't really say that we're a country, and
Right,
like
it's
we're not
awkward,
internationally recognized. So it is a bit hard for us, but
Yeah.
I think as citizens we could do our part, especially with the internet. Yeah.
Definitely, and just promote it more and get it out there, you know, because it's a gem of Asia for me. It's a hidden gem right now, and it just needs to be discovered, I think.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully this talk has shed some light onto our British stereotypes. Today we've experienced how good British food can be.
Thank you.
This is really, I've just had the scone. It's really good, paired with the tea.
Thank you.
If you do have a chance, come check out Amy 英国奶奶的英式料理哦，就是我们今天吃的，其实真的都很好吃，也是通常不会吃到的食物。Would you say that this is what it tastes like in England?
Yeah, I would say so. Just like a little bit less sugar, obviously here as well. But yeah, this is kind of what we would eat. This is kind of you get you find this in an English coffee shop.
现在不能出国嘛，所以如果想要体验在英国的感觉的话呢，就是可以来找 Amy。
欢迎欢迎。
好，如果喜欢这支影片的话，记得帮我点个赞。每个礼拜一的晚上7点会有新影片。And that's a wrap. I'll see you guys next time. See ya. Cat 就是 Creators at Taiwan， 是一个为了台湾新媒体创作者打造的全新平台。如果想要更多的了解 Cat 的话，赶快下载 Hami Video App 去到 Cat 网红馆吧。